SLP Reflection. So, my service learning project, I chose to work with the Windsor Inn for Women. I was informed that it would be best to find an organization that targeted the demographic that we would likely be teaching, and be it that the Windsor Inn for Women is individuals aged 14 to 21, predominantly women. I thought, bingo, I found the most ideal organization I could work with. So, my knowledge of the Windsor Inn for Women was through a family friend who needed to use their services when they were younger. They did not have the most reliable or stable home life, and so the inn provided a safe and nurturing environment for them to live in while they finished up their high school years. Now, some residents at the inn come from an unstable home life, and some of them come with emotional and behavioral and mental disabilities, really. And I realize in hindsight it was a little bit ambitious to work with an organization of rather challenging individuals. However, I believe that it was truly for a benefit, as my practicum school was pretty spectacular. I had really great students. I really didn't face too many challenging individuals, and the challenges that I faced were different than having really resistant youth. So, my intention behind my SLP was to facilitate learning around hair care, skin care, and nail care, as that those are essentially the subject matters within cosmetology. And I was really excited. I planned out, day one would be intro day with an icebreaker and a mind map, and seeking what these individuals wish to learn from me. And I really broke it down. I started harvesting materials. I was looking for good deals through some of my suppliers that I use in the salon. Um, I was really, really, really excited about this. And so I was informed by my organization that I would have probably somewhere close to 15 individuals. So I planned accordingly. I bought 15 little dollar store type notebooks, something like this. I bought nail polishes, one for each with a variety of colors. I bought nail files and nail buffers. I bought gua sha tools for facials. I really went through and planned out, and I thought I had a really great game plan. And it was fantastic on paper, but when I showed up for day one of my SLP, my organization, so they do group nights on Wednesdays for 1 hour, and they said if the residents are enjoying themselves, they will extend it slightly, but typically group nights are about 1 hour. So knowing that we had a 36-hour threshold, I said, okay, how about with all the planning and purchasing and commuting and all that good stuff, let's do 5 days. So we had scheduled 5 days. One was going to be essentially intro day, one day would be a hair day, one day would be a skin day, one day would be a nail day, and then a day to do a conclusion and a wrap up and sharing what we learned, and maybe going over some of the fine details or information that possibly did not get addressed in the previous sessions. As it was the organization's intention or expectation that I facilitate knowledge when it comes to hygiene and personal care, but also trying to establish like a healthy self-esteem as well as just kind of overall wellness. So I go in super chipper, happy, and positive. I've got all of my notebooks on the counter with a box of pens. And as the individuals come in on that first day, I said, grab yourself a notebook, grab yourself a pen, and have a seat. And so I have 3 individuals sitting in the conference area, and I'm waiting for everybody else. And I was told that's it. We might have one more join us if they finish work early, but I'm expecting 15, and I get 3. So my icebreaker that I assumed would take about 20 to 30 minutes is not happening because there's 3 of them, and they clearly know each other very well. And it doesn't take much for me to learn 3 individuals' names. So instead of doing a full-on icebreaker, I said, can you introduce yourself? Tell me how old you are. Tell me a couple things about you. And that only took a couple minutes, which is totally fine. And from there, previous to me kind of getting to know about them, I obviously introduced myself and the project and who I am, why I'm there, what my mission is, and what my intention is for the next few weeks. So they had a foundation of that. And yeah, so we sat down, they introduced themselves back to me, and from there we moved on to a mind map. A mind map that I encouraged them. They were, I'd be happy to have them follow along and create their own bit of a mind map. But we did self-care. So if you can see some of these individuals' idea of self-care, so a lot of these are mine, but we have on this side showering and flushing the toilet and deodorant and self-care by Mac Miller music. They were pretty resistant. They were really resistant. It was like pulling teeth from individuals that were sitting like this, giving me the stare down, bored out of their tree. And I was grateful for having such a contrast of an experience. I certainly like a challenge, which I set myself up for. Yeah. So we had the one individual that was at work join us later, and she was a bit of a ray of sunshine coming into a really resistant room. I'll just leave it as resistant. And this individual that joined us later, what does self-care mean to you? And she happily stated, Sudoku. I love doing Sudoku. It helps me zone out. I was like, fantastic. I love that answer. Great answer. So, I had them journal about what they hope to learn by the end of a few sessions and what self-care might mean to them. And some of them were writing down a little bit. From there, I thought it would be wise to see what it was they intended to learn from me when it comes to hair, skin, or nails. And it's my belief that younger individuals, to give them some form of autonomy is a way of giving them respect. But I learned very, very quickly that autonomy is not something challenging youth need. Challenging youth need very direct instructions, and they need firm boundaries, and they really just need firm direction. But naive Nikki goes in on day 1 and says, okay, when it comes to hair, what is it that you guys intend to learn from me? And they said things like curly or textured hair, how to deal with it, which is great. I'm naturally curly, so I have tons of advice in that department. Not frizzy, not greasy, how to deal with split ends. Okay, great. I can do all of these things. When it came to skincare, they wanted to know, about makeup and skincare. But they also suggested I should take them to Sephora and buy them each like 5 things. And I said I would love to do that if I won the lottery. However, I'm on a student's budget and I can't even buy myself 3 things at Sephora at this present moment. So they weren't exactly thrilled about that. And, the subliminal bullying almost started at that threshold where, they're kind of talking across the room at each other. One's being a little bit disrespectful, snickering, making little comments. And I really had to crack the whip, if you will, and let them know that it wasn't acceptable and I wasn't going to tolerate them being disrespectful, that there would absolutely be no swearing in my presence as I don't tolerate it, and that they needed to kind of reel it in if we were going to be successful in this service learning project. And I had wished that my supervisor was closer, so that I could have backup, but she, I think, really appreciated having some of her regular duties alleviated. So I was left alone with these individuals, and it was hard to reel them in. And I let them know that it was my intention on hair day to make hair masks and on skin day to make face masks. So I wanted to know their hair and skin concerns. And they looked at me and they're like, ew, what do you mean make them? And I said, well, you can make hair and face masks out of household products. Are you talking about food? Ew. Ew. I'm not putting food on my face or my hair. Okay. Well, that is great because that is what I had planned moving forward. So I left that first session feeling incredibly defeated. I got in my car. I bawled my eyes out. I wrote the supervisor an email as soon as I got in my car, or as soon as I got home that night. Wrote the supervisor an email, and following weekend at Breakfast Club, I cried and informed my peers that I think I committed SLP suicide. And Tim reminded me that it would still be a valuable lesson, which it was, and that the show must go on. So I carried on with myself and I said, you know what? I'm going in the next day and I am not going to try so hard. I felt really disrespected, and I let them know when I got in that I felt disrespected, that my time wasn't valued, my knowledge wasn't valued. I intended to do something fun and engaging with them, and they decided to shoot me down. So I went in day 2 with my textbook, and I basically verbatim from my textbook told them the answers to all their skincare concerns, and I let them know that they have these notebooks and they are more than welcome to fill out their answers or the things that I'm sharing with them. But I said, you know what? You guys don't want to respect me. Why should I respect you? And not that I said why should I respect you, but why should I go out of my way and spend my own money on the ingredients when you're clearly just counting down the minutes until I'm gone and making me feel really uncomfortable. So, yeah, they were not necessarily keen on that. The supervisor had let me know at the end of that day that the residents expressed that they would prefer to do something more hands-on, and I let the supervisor know that I had hands on things planned and they shot me down completely. And she kind of stated that if the residents wish to continue being a resident at the inn, it is part of their obligations and duties to partake in group night, whatever that might entail. So I wish I would have known that, but the supervisor apparently did not receive my email, and I didn't learn this until I had already had something really boring planned. So my following day, I went in and I would have loved to have done a hair day, except Miss Bolton, after hearing how my first day had gone with these individuals, Miss Bolton originally was going to let me borrow mannequins, mannequin stands, even tools, to really do some hands on stuff with these individuals. And when she found out how day one went, she's like, they're not touching my stuff. They can't respect you. Why should I assume that they can respect my things? And I let the residents know that their behavior was the reason why I had less materials to work with. And they weren't exactly thrilled about that, but they knew that that was their own doing. I wanted to go over manicures and, teach them the process of a manicure and to do their own. I had nail files, buffers, nail polish, you name it, for each of their own personal consumption. And I was even going to give them the nail polishes, and they were like, well, you should just give us all acrylics. If I'm not getting fake nails, then I don't use regular nail polish. I don't want to do my nails. Okie dokie. Okie dokie. So I went in there the following day with bath bomb making kits from the dollar store. And I figured, you know what? Let's just make something. If you don't want to use coconut oil and sugar and household items, let's use terribly potentially toxic chemicals from the dollar store. And they loved these bath bomb making kits. We had a good time with them. They barely followed directions, and that's fine. They enjoyed themselves. And I ended up missing a day due to COVID, and myself and the organization decided that it was no need to reschedule due to the resistance. But I did, as they were making bath bombs, go over things when it came to nail care and hair care. And I let them know that, my following date, I said, I'm not a nail tech. I cannot give all of you guys the false fake nails that you're looking for in acrylics. It's not my forte. It would take me forever. It's not even in my wheelhouse. But I said, the majority of you could use a trim. You've all expressed that you have dead ends that you need to repair or mend. And so I said, our last day, instead of doing a sharing and conclusion session, let's do just like a little bit of a party, if you will. I had little swag bags for them that, they were toiletry bags that had some hair ties, the gua sha tool, the nail file and buffer, and I put a little sample of my favorite hair mask and a couple little samples and whatnot. So I had these swag bags for them, and I said, I'd be happy to provide a trim for you guys. I said, I'm not going to wash hair. I'm not going to blow dry and style. I don't have time to do that. But my main reason for that was, and I had cleared it the session before I had actually gone. But we had one individual that identified as male, and they were born female, and they had a long blonde ponytail, and they really I knew that they would really benefit from having a shorter cropped hairstyle, and that it would probably help in um, their identity transition, you know? So I had offered and provided trims to two of the residents, and the third that identified as male, we gave them a very short traditional men's haircut, and they were over the moon. And it was really special to be able to provide that. And you know, I even stated, like, if we're chopping a bunch of hair off, let's put it in ponytails, let's donate it. So I did send off and donate this individual's hair because there was certainly lengths long enough for it. But you know, it was a really refreshing experience. By the end of it, they were a lot more comfortable with me. I had written each of them. Each of them Christmas cards, and I did let them know that I required for them to receive these haircuts. I said, you know, this is going to be a trade-off. You're going to write a reflection for me on your experience these past few sessions, and I would like to know if you have any feedback for me, knowing that I'm in the pursuit of becoming a teacher. And I also would like you to write your favorite thing about each housemate on a separate piece of paper. And so in the Christmas cards, I compiled all of the positive qualities that their housemates stated about them. I compiled those, and then I also wrote like another little personal message for them and brought those to the inn and gave them to them for Christmas. I wasn't able to personally administer them, but it was really cool, you know, and as much as they were really resistant and challenging, they were very grateful when they wrote me their letter. A couple of them felt as though in my discussing self-care with them that things were a little bit, I tried to get too personal with them. Mind you, I did not ask them any of the details as to why they were at the inn or what their personal challenges or struggles were, but we did a journal prompt at the beginning of each session. And let me see here. I did ask them where they want to be in 5 years, and if they won $1 million, what they would do with it. And I asked them what their strengths were and what their weaknesses were, and that weaknesses aren't necessarily a negative thing. It's a means to understand where you might need allies, if you will. So, you know, it was, I'd say it was overall, all in all, just a really great experience. I was actually able to connect with these individuals. I can promise you I will never, ever, ever forget any of them. And I really do wish them the best in life. So it's kind of what I got. Started out rough, ended up as a really positive experience. Great learning experience. I think the moral of the story is that challenging individuals definitely need more firm boundaries and direction. But at the end of the day, maybe they would not have opened up to me the way that they did. And they certainly softened up quite a bit. Had I not gone in with the best intentions. So that is my SLP. I think overall it was a really valuable experience. And I even let the inn know that I intend to kind of keep in touch with them, and even just providing quick haircuts every maybe a couple times a year, because it makes you feel good sometimes to have somebody do something for you for nothing. Just helps them. Anyways.